what would it be? He said he would ensure that they read. And I told my daughter that anytime when I die, one of the things I want you to be precious to you are my books. I have over 1,000 books because I love reading. I have 4 libraries, and I keep telling her, just keep reading, keep reading. I can't go a day without reading.
Beautiful.
So I'm going to I'm going to share my screen. That's okay?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Share my screen. There we go. Found it.
Beautiful.
Can we all see? Like one or two
Yes.
can confirm to me that they can see.
We can see. I can see though.
Okay. Beautiful. Okay.
Yep.
So I'm just going to move this out of the way. So we all know the name of the book already. And my name is Ronke Poch. For those that don't know me, I am a parenting practitioner and director of Le Poche School, Parkview Estate, Ikoyi. I'm a certified family life therapist, NLP practitioner, author of books, and a public speaker. So that's me in summary. This is the book we'll be reading, and I'll be talking about happiness, like I said already, the philosophy, saving yourself, and reading. Now, learning happiness. Too many people, there are too many unhappy people alive. This is what he says. And I'm going to be sharing what I agree with and what I don't agree with, because as amazing as the book is, there are many things that they do not resonate with me. They may resonate with you, but they don't resonate with me. Say, for example, he doesn't believe in an afterlife, for example. He just believes that everything will turn to dust and have no meaning. So there's nothing like legacy. He doesn't believe in all those sort of things. So that's not me. But I will share it anyway, so you can take whatever you want from it. Too many people are unhappy and they are alive. So what is it that can make you happy? He's saying here that not one thing can make anybody happy. There are different definitions of happiness, and you have to create your own happiness.
Yeah.
It says oftentimes the reason why people are unhappy is because they have unfulfilled desires. That if you have no desire for anything, that you will not be unhappy. So if you're just in a state where you just are, and you're not looking at somebody else, then you will be happy. At the same time, I'm thinking to myself, is it possible to just be without desiring? Because I'm sure there are things that he himself desires. He must have desired his wife. He must have desired to have children. And those things have added to his happiness. However, he just says, unfulfilled desires. So at some point, I do believe that we should have desires. But he says, narrow down your desires. Eliminate the source of your suffering. So in here that if you say, for example, maybe you like this guy so much or whatever, if you're not so stuck up on that guy or that girl, perhaps you will be able to reduce the suffering in your life, because it's the things that we desire that cause us to suffer. So if you are desiring too much money, maybe you want 10 billion before December and giving yourself this unrealistic goal, you eliminate that, and it will cause you to suffer and to be a source of your unhappiness. And it talks about life being a single player game, which I totally agree with. And I tell my daughter all the time that you should learn to spend time with yourself. And it talks about meditation and silence, which I'm a big fan of. Last December, I went away with Bankole Williams and we went on a retreat. And most of what we did was just stay in silence and meditate. And I also want to encourage people to learn to meditate and to stay in silence. He's an advocate of meditation and silence. We are born alone, we'll die alone. Most of our thoughts will be alone. Most of the things that we do will be by ourselves. And so we must learn to enjoy our company. Some people cannot stay alone. They need somebody to be there. They can't even stay alone. Music must be playing or Netflix must be there, something to distract them, because they don't enjoy the company of their thoughts. They don't enjoy the company of themselves. So we must learn to understand that life is a single player game, okay? So many have trained themselves to join the rat race, and they are high anxiety people. And what he means essentially by that is that a lot of us are just, the next book. We want to just do what everybody is doing, post the next Instagram reel, do this. And it causes us to be anxious. It programs you, because what you do repeatedly programs you. And it comes to a point where even when you have money, you have programmed yourself so much to be in the rat race, you can't help but be anxious. So you must ensure that you are not joining the masses. And it reminded me of the scripture that says, narrow is the way. So many people are doing everything, but there's some things that you must think about and say, am I supposed to join everybody when they're doing these things? So what you do versus what society expects you to do. Society expects you to do certain things, you know. They expect you to conform. They expect you to, you know, dress in a certain way, speak in a certain manner, you know, be at certain hangouts. Is that what society expects that you live for, or what do you want in life? What you want in life is what you should live for, and that should be what should make you happy. And that reminded me of FOMO, fear of missing out. You know, some people don't want to miss out on things that happen on social media. They don't want to miss out on certain functions. They want to be everywhere. And that makes them anxious. It also makes them stressed out. Do you have to be there? While there's importance in networking, but do you have to be at every networking event? If you want lasting happiness, it comes from within. It's not extrinsic. Some people believe that if they don't marry, they cannot be happy. They don't have, when they marry, they'll say they don't have children. When they have children, children don't grow up. When the children grow up, the children don't leave the house. When they grow up, you know, there's always one thing after the other. Your lasting happiness must come from inside of you. You must define it and understand and say, this is what makes me happy. This is my own measure and criteria for happiness. I don't care what anybody has or is doing. This is what makes me happy. So material possessions can contribute or facilitate your happiness. Yes, of course. If I have a nice car and I can quickly get from A to B, if I can fly business class, all those things will contribute to your happiness, but they are not in itself happiness. Happiness is a skill, and you have to be intentional about it. You're not born happy. You have to have you have to learn the skill of being happy. You have to be intentional about your happiness. And I always say, guard your heart jealously, because out of it flows the issues of life. You must ensure that the ears and your eyes, the gateway to your heart, you guard it jealously, because they can cause you to be depressed and sad. So you must sharpen that axe. You must ensure that you practice that skill. Not that we learn skills, we must learn happiness. And happiness is relative. So what makes you happy is not what makes me happy. A full bank may make me happy, it may not make me happy. A glass of wine may make me happy, it may not make you happy. So you must find what makes you happy. I love reading. I love reading. At the end of this book, Naval recommended several books. And he said, oh, it's so long that you might just want to get the digital copy of my website. I listened to every single book that he recommended. And I went to my Audible and I was bookmarking in my library the books that he said, because there's no life without reading. Say, if you're not reading, you are dying. So you must read. So when they say, when Mr. Ford says we should read this book, do a book review, the least we can do is to read the summary. We must not miss out on reading. You know, I tell my pupils at Le Poche School that you must read. They must be reading. If they ask you, which book are you reading now? You must ensure you have a book that you're reading. And with all due respect, it doesn't have to be a religious book. Some people always, oh, this pastor's book, that pastor's book. Yes, they will tell you your religious perspective, but there's a lot to life. There's so many books. People will still discuss at the end of this, before the end of this, is the sort of books that he recommends that we read. And you must find activities that make you happy. What is it that makes you happy? So some people may just be in their homes and they are actually just brushing the hair of a doll and plaiting it and learning how
they're happy.
Well, and they're happy.
Yes, sir.
It's not more than that. Some people are just in their home. Sometimes I'm just playing with my daughter and we're having a pillow fight, or we're just having a laugh, and I'm happy. I don't need to have my measure of happiness will not be somebody else's measure of happiness. Yesterday was Valentine's Day, and it's the first Valentine's I'll be spending on my own in 24 years. My husband is not in town, and my daughter is not in town. So this is the first time that I'll be spending Valentine's Day on my own. And I chose to be happy. Like you said, happiness is a skill. I ordered the fancy gourmet meal for myself. I prepared my dining. I did everything. It was beautiful. Absolutely. You would think as if I was having a fun. But when my thing arrived, I'm sure the security guard would think I'm having an affair, because the way the package arrived.
Yes, woman.
They were just looking, who brings one for madam? And I did it for myself, exclusively for myself, because I was going to be happy. Nothing was going to take away that happiness from me yesterday. And I enjoyed myself. A friend joined me eventually, and we enjoyed ourselves, and we watched a Netflix movie. And I'm not the Netflix person. So yesterday was a good day for me. So what am I stressing there? That you must create your own happiness. What is it that makes you? Nobody is responsible for your happiness. Nobody is responsible for your happiness. They can contribute to your happiness, but nobody is responsible for your happiness. So find activities that make you happy and give you peace. abstain from things like screen time. Screen time, he says, and we know this, we all know this. Screen time, as much as we know that we work a lot with our screens, is a big source of depression to our lives. Some of us will compare our life. You will be happy until you go and see somebody's car on Instagram. You will be happy until you see them carrying one bag. You are happy until you see that they say their course is sold out. Nothing was wrong with you until you logged onto Instagram. You were fine before. But the moment you see somebody else, then you start the comparison analysis that paralyzes you. So you must be careful about what you consume online. The amount of caffeine that you take. A lot of people boast about the amount of coffee. I used to drink a lot of coffee when I worked in the bank. I worked in the bank for 11 years in the UK. And I used to love my coffee as I'm going. In fact, when they get there, they will ask me, is it my regular? And I'll say, yes. They already knew exactly what I wanted every morning in terms of coffee. I drank that thing so much. When I came to Nigeria, I said, okay, no more coffee. But because it had become such a habit, before I knew what happened, I was drinking this coffee again. In this heat, I was just drinking the coffee until one day, the headaches did not stop. I tried to find out what was going on. Luckily, I had a blood pressure machine at home and I checked. And lo and behold, the blood pressure was so high. I went to the hospital and the doctor said, man, how many cups of coffee do you drink a day? I said, 6-7 cups of coffee.
That's too much. I drink. I drink 1 cup of coffee a day. Max 2.
It's drugs now.
Max 2. Jesus Christ. God forbid. Yeah. I
drink it like enjoy it. And he talked about sugar as well. He talked about the amount of sugar that we consume. And there are different kinds of sugar. I have to stress this. Whilst he didn't say this one, there are natural sugars and there are also artificial sugars. We know that we should stay away from them. As much as we can, we should try and substitute for honey. And for those that have little children, try not to put them on sugar. My daughter is here. She didn't have any fizzy drink, all those cabbage, box drink, carton drink. She did not have it as a child. I did not give it to her. Even chocolate, she was not eating it. 5 years plus, she still didn't know she didn't have the taste of all those things. It's possible to raise your children without sugar because it's not good for them. It affects their mood swings, their diet, their teeth. There are so many things that this sugar does. So I want to stress the importance of substituting. And then we must understand that our Nigerian African kind of food are very big on carbohydrates, and this turns to sugar in our bodies. So we must, we'll get to it because he also actually talks a lot about the food we eat. A lot of people will eat a lot of carbohydrates and then eat fat. So it just reminded me of how we eat our pounded yam, and then we'll be bragging about the number of one shaki that is inside our food. That is a very bad and actually toxic combination for our bodies. And that's why you find that our older parents, they start eating the greens, they start coming off all those food because they're not good for us. If they're not good for us, then why don't we stop it now and prevent our children from getting into the habit of eba amala all the time? That's just my contribution. Now, alcohol is another one. Excessive drinking of alcohol, excessive sex. Anything that is too much is an abuse. Anything that is too, no matter how good it is, if you drink too much water, you're going to be oversaturated. It's going to hurt you. Overexposure to sun, overexposure even to reading, you can go crazy if you read. And anything that is in excess, you must limit that thing. Even jealousy. If you see at the picture there, I put jealous. And he had a solution for jealousy, which I loved so much, and I'm going to talk about online. I loved it so much. He said when people are jealous or envious, that he used to be someone that used to be jealous and envious of other people. And he said, and then I think someone also said to him, and the way it goes is
I like that perspective. We just saw a snapshot of the person's life. We didn't see the entirety of the person's life.
So he said that
was so powerful.
If you're jealous of somebody, think about it. You're just jealous because they have a big bank account or a sexy wife or husband, or maybe they're getting gigs and you're not getting gigs. Is that all you want and you're not getting? You must ensure that you are also ready to have the life that that person has. So if the person has any disease, you are ready to have it. If the person has any challenges with anything, you are ready to have that person's life completely and wholly. If you're not, then there's nothing to be jealous about. Because when you think about other people's life, you're only picking one or two things that you want in their lives. You actually do not want, oftentimes, and desire the entirety of that person's life. You must be careful about jealousy and envy. Okay. He wants us to be active all the time as much as we can. Whilst I was waiting for my turn to do the book review, I picked up my dumbbells and I was just lifting weights because I want to build my strength. So he says we must make hard choices. Hard choices have long-term benefits.
He said hard choices lead to soft life.
So hard choices can be you working out. Hard choices.
I see my who is Zuzu? Who is Siana? Sia, is that my son? Who is Para?
I don't know what it took about. Let me try and open my screen with this. I had only the screen on, so I wasn't privy to what was happening there. Okay.
What? You always what I was listening up.
No, I had folded up my screen. I only had I didn't have.
Okay.
So hard choices lead to long-term benefits. We talked about.
Oh yeah, very good. Yeah.
Healthy, going to the gym, it might be tough for you, but you would enjoy your body, you enjoy your life.
Yeah. So tough, bro. It's so tough.
So he mentioned that, and then I've gone one ahead before. Now he talked about healthy eating, exercise, and I've talked about that meditation. Prioritize health and well-being. Find accountability partners with the things that you're doing. So, I mean, we already talked about that one, so I won't bang on about it for too much. You should build actions and habits, and those sort of things, they take a while. So you might want to start doing something. Maybe you want to start posting or doing your sales thing, and you're thinking, oh, sales and coach has done 50 calls today. Me, I've only done 2. Just keep moving. And I know that there's this saying that it's better for you to be crawling than for you to be static. You know? Just keep moving. You crawl, you walk, you run, eventually you fly. Just keep moving. Next. The other things here that he talked about that meditation, he went so much on about it, and gratitude. So we talk about gratitude in the group, we talk about journaling in the group. I particularly love journaling because it's a practice that I've done for many, many, many years.
Yeah, such a good thing. Such a good thing.
I had a trauma last September that affected my life to a significant extent. And it was journaling that helped me. I have to look for a way to mute this person.
Who is this person? It was Professor. I've muted the person. Go ahead.
Okay, awesome. So the journaling helped me to go through a very rough patch in my life at the time, last year, September. I was just putting things down. It helps you a lot. It helps you to see.
It does.
It helps you to be grateful, and it distresses you.
It does. Very good.
Another thing that I did that helped me was coloring. I had coloring books. This coloring books they sell. I mean, I don't know if they sell them here, but I'm sure they will somewhere. Just different images and flowers or plants or fish or whatever, and you just color them, and it helps you to be in a space on your own. You zone out. It helps you to zone. Essentially, we must learn to zone out because there's so many things happening in the world right now, and we can't connect. Already the way that the brain is wired, all the stimuli that come to us, we bounce it back. We don't take everything. There's a process of deletion that some information your brain can't take everything. You go crazy. So some of them will be eliminated naturally. But then all the ones that are still coming to you, you yourself must intentionally look for a way to zone out. Because at any point in time, there are multiples of thoughts coming to you. So what are you going to do to ensure? So when you want to meditate, there are different kinds of meditation. But he says there's an easy way to meditate without even going to meet a guru to teach you anything. Just stay in your bed, close your eyes and think about nothing. If anything comes to your mind, just erase it and just stay for 1 hour, 60 minutes every day. And that's enough. And I'm someone that meditates. I've learned to meditate. I enjoy it. And if you meditate as you go on, I just want to add to this because I'm a meditator. I'm one that loves to do it. Some of the things that I do, I mean, if you check on YouTube, there's something called rain noise. You just be hearing the sounds of rain.
Yeah, you can actually get it on Spotify as well. There's so many songs like that.
You just put it on. Some of them are 8 hours long. You just put them on and you meditate. Think about nothing. You just sleep well. There's lots of meditation music on YouTube. So guys, I would suggest that you do it. And sitting in silence. If you don't love yourself, you can't meditate. If you don't love yourself, you can't sit in silence. You don't know how to do it. You want something else to engage you. So if you want to test that you love yourself, see how well you can meditate. You have to reduce your screen time. We talked about that. Those who love you prioritize you. So others work on others are secondary. So you must follow your passion, beware of others, take action, and be determined about the things that you want to do in life.
Fantastic.
We talk about motivations, and then he talked about core values. Talk about his core values, about which included he had poor core values until a point in his time. So he wasn't the guru he is today, essentially. But at some point, when he started recognizing his core values, that was how he connected with his wife and they started their family. So he now talked about the meaning of life. What exactly does life mean? This is where I begin to have quite significantly more differentials with him. So he talked about the meaning of life. So his own meaning of life, life really, there was life 10 million years ago. The way you were before you were born and is the way you're going to be when you die. So a baby does not even know that they existed before they were born. And when they die, you will not even know that you existed. So that is essentially what he's saying. You may agree, I don't. He says your values must align to your purpose. You should find your shared values and find it with other people, find company, and that company made me realize that, when people, when people have maybe a disease, they will join the group for support of the people that have the same disease, or maybe somebody's heart is broken. They will look for friends that their hearts have been broken as well, because misery likes company. The same way that misery likes company is the same way that happiness likes company. So find people that are happy. One of the reasons why I'm in this group, and I must say it, and I probably have said it before, is I just love Bolfo's energy. For me, it's not the content. The content is good, but for me, it's not the content. For me, it's the energy, because he's very passionate. And I like to be passionate. I don't want to give up. So when somebody is waking up every morning and saying, oh, you have to do, he's so, I can't sit down. What am I doing when somebody just, shouting morning ginger every day, and he's just so full of energy. That energy for me is what I need more than anything. There's sometimes where I'm not even able to catch up in 2 weeks. I'll be listening to the audios later on. But that energy will ginger me for a while, because, that passion, that always wanting to research, always wanting to find out something new, just dropping, that's it, is it for me. So you find company. And the other groups that I belong, because they share my values, they share the things that I like. So we've replicated this sort of thing. Fina and I, we have a closed parenting group where we share, we don't call it morning ginger, but we essentially equip parents so that they can hear something about parenting all the time. They can hear something that will help them not fall out of line. They can hear the latest news about what children are doing. So find company that align with your values. And then the best exercise for you is not what somebody says, recommends to you. Oh, you must lift weights 100 times. You must keep 200 times. All those things that we hear. He says, that's not the best exercise for you. The best exercise for you is what you enjoy. So if dancing is what you enjoy and you're sweating, by all means, knock yourself out and dance. You don't have to do what somebody else is doing, but you must do something. We talk about freedom. Moment, please. Yeah, okay. He talked about freedom. Phew. I need a break now. He talked about freedom, that what is true freedom? And this reminded me about a lot of Nigerians, because I belong to a lot of women groups, and you find that they are there ranting and complaining about one husband or one wife that is not saving them. And I'm an advocate of women working. I've always been. My dad raised 4 girls to work and to be empowered women. And he talked about something similar. People stay in bad jobs and they'll be complaining and shake me for, I hate that company, but they're collecting their salary, but they will be cursing and cursing and cursing. And then they will be in relationships, they're not happy. They'll come online, they'll be abusing the husband, they'll be abusing the wife, just doing all sorts of things. That's not true freedom. You're in bondage. If you're not happy somewhere, set yourself free, just move on. No matter how hard it is, no matter what society is going to say, it doesn't matter. If you're not happy, just move on. Stop holding on to toxicity. Give yourself true freedom. Anger, I love this quote. He said, anger is like holding on to hot coal. Imagine, let's just stop for a second. Imagine hot blazing coal with orange, that orange thing that comes out of coal, hot one in your hand. You're holding it and it's burning you, it's killing you. You are waiting to throw it at somebody else. That is what anger is. And anger is a sign of somebody not having full control of yourself. If you cannot control your anger, then you don't have self-mastery. This is just this one is from NLP. You must ensure that you are able to have self-control. No matter how high up you are in life, if you don't have a hold of your anger, you have nothing. Your time is your most important resource. And he did say at some point that, because I remember calling a friend and sharing with her because I knew she fell in this trap. Everybody should have an hourly rate. Do you know what your hourly rate is? Think about it. What is your hourly rate? Is it 50,000 naira an hour, 10,000 naira an hour, 5,000 an hour? If you are doing anything that is under your hourly rate, you delegate it.
That's what they said. That was a very powerful. It changes your mental model, the way you think. So powerful.
Anything that is under your hourly rate, you should delegate it. And I can remember this weekend I was with me and we were having a chat, and he said someone had left his team, and the person had gone to the UK, blah, 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 blah. And the person was very integral to the work that he's doing. And they hadn't found a replacement. So they paid 60% of her tuition and they continued paying her school fees so that she can be working from where she was. Essentially, it's not because the money is so much, but he cannot imagine himself, it's like to fear, God forbid. He cannot imagine himself doing certain tasks again. There are certain things that you must not do again as an entrepreneur or even an employed person. You must use your mind and your brain space to do something more constructive that will generate more cash, more happiness, and more freedom. There's some things you just must not be found doing. And I thought to myself, I said, can you imagine if I say I want to start maybe in the mornings, every morning when I wake up, I go to the school, I want to be the one to sweep it because I want to save money. I want to clean the table and the chair. I want to save money. I want to carry the phones and be answering WhatsApp messages from the parents because I want to save money. I might be able to do that and save money, but I'm not going to be able to do the sales that are telling us to do here. I'm not going to be able to do bigger things. So whilst you might think you're saving money, you're actually wasting time, and time is your most precious resource. So not making others happy, it says you're not responsible for making others happy. And that one is, I'm in between, I'm stuck in between, because again, to an extent, we're responsible for making other people happy. I believe that. He says we're not responsible for. And I can remember also, we are
responsible.
But he says we're not, because when the thing that we must not be dependent on other people making us happy, but we must do our best to shine our light and make other people happy.
Yeah.
And I went through my trauma in September, when it started in September. If I didn't have people trying to make me happy, I'll probably be 6 foot under by now. I'm telling you, it was that bad. The trauma was so bad that it was human beings that God sent to me that ensured that I was able to get through that time, and they ensured that I was happy. So when it says, you're not responsible for making other people happy, I didn't quite agree. But here we go, that's what he has to say. Then he talks a second about saving yourself. He talked about money. And in this order, he says, he talks about money, he talks about health, he talks about mental health, being very important. Your health, he said, is the most important. Then he says your mental health, so your physical health is the one he means by health. That if you have a piece of health, then you can get a piece of life. That's how we put it. Then your mental health is very, very important. Very, very significant. Your mental health, you must look after it, you must preserve it. Then your spiritual life is also very, very important. The relationship that you have with your friends and your family and all those sort of things will equate to your freedom. This money will buy you this freedom. Money gives you options.
Yeah.
It gives you options, Some people will not be able to be here because they don't have any other option, because they have to be somewhere else doing something. But money can help you delegate that task, and you can be here. Money can cause you to, take a month or 2 months or 3 months off in a year and just enjoy life with your family, go on vacations and just do your own thing. It gives you options. Physical, mental, spiritual, family, health, and well-being. That's the order. And it talks about exercise being a life's journey. There was something he talked about cold baths. And I liked that because I was doing it, but I didn't realize I was doing it.
No, I still do it. It's very, very... I advise everybody to do that if you can. It shocks your nervous system. I do it in the mornings. My children know when I'm doing it. My whole house know when I pour the cold bath, but I can scream.
Talk about those cold baths.
Everybody try it. It's so good, so healthy.
I do it in the afternoons when it's so hot and it cools me down. I do it for cooling down purposes. Because sometimes it's just so hot and there's no amount of AC or anything. You just want to cool down. So I do it, but I don't do it in the mornings because in the mornings I don't come out of AC. My body is cool. I can't, I don't want to get one of hypothermia and go and shock myself, because you can do some of these practices and actually hurt yourself. So we must take it with a pinch of salt sometimes, because there are some extremes. There's this thing my daughter showed me on YouTube where people will freeze themselves in a bucket of ice. There are extremes. They can shut your heart down. They can kill you in one capacity or the other. But he encourages those cold baths.
But you can do those things in moderation, but they are good. Exactly. It's good. It's very good.
It refreshes me when I do those cold baths. I really love it, and I enjoy it. So maybe you want to try having a cold bath tonight and share in the group how it helped you, how it made you feel. You want to share your cold bath experiences. So, like I said, you need a piece of body to get a piece of life. Then he talked about reading, one of the ones I love the most. So you don't need to read what others are reading. I can remember there was a time that there were some popular books. I don't want to name them because this is going online. You know the popular books. Have you read this one? You're not read this. Hey, you're not read this. And he was saying that a lot of these books, they're just for social approval. Let them say me too, I don't read them. Let them say me too, I get. A lot of people will buy it to be on their shelves. They will not read it because or they will even read it just because everybody is doing it. He says you don't have to read what everybody is reading. You can read even comics if that's what you enjoy and that's what expands your mind. And he says you should read originals like math, science, psychology, and philosophy. that we should ensure that we're reading books like that, the original, the old, those old prints. He was encouraging that people should read something like that. Then there was another thing he said, which I didn't quite agree with. 100%. He says we should read these old originals, and I do understand. And he gave examples of books about from Adam Smith, Darwin's books, Sapiens and books like that. He gave examples, but he also says that because all these new books that they're writing now, that a lot of them are diluted kind of thing. They're coming from, they're not necessarily the right way anymore.
Okay, let me add something to that. So that we can have. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
I've not landed
yet.
Right. So when he mentioned that, I do understand that he was extrapolating and saying that, okay, this is the authentic kind of thing. Then I remembered my own space. When I remembered my own space, I remember that our parents did what they could with the knowledge that they know. So say, for example, a lot of them believe in beating children. And there are new reports now about the impact of beating children. Now, you won't find old books that will say don't beat your children. You in fact, if anything, if you find anything, they will even encourage you to beat them. But now you will find books that will have the theory and the reason why you should not beat those children. Those are modern books. They're not even old books, but they are proven facts. There's research that has gone into them to tell you that this is the impact on the mental health of your child when you're constantly yelling, criticizing, comparing, beating your children. So that's why I said that when we read some of these books, we should just take what works for us. Now, it's good to read those books, but then there are new things. So when we talk about sales, I now talk about Mr. Fo. I said, okay, let's talk about Mr. Fo. He's taking sales strategies now. He's taking a lot of new age strategies. Those are new. They don't exist. Social media, sales, and all those sort of things, they didn't exist in the past. They didn't exist. There are new things that have come up now that are causing us to do things differently. Then I talked about the Montessori system because I'm a teacher. Montessori does not believe in the use of technology. He does not believe in having televisions and stuff like that, or even screens. Now, can you now get away with teaching children without technology in the 21st century?
No way.
I think so. But her practices, her philosophy to an extent, not fully, are still true. So we must balance a lot of those things that he says in the book. I'll give you the space to do your contribution now.
No, I like what you said, but there's a I don't know if I said that in the book, but in one of his talks, he was talking about first principles. That it's good to read books that are first principles books because they're the foundation of most things that are built on top of. For example, Think and Grow Rich in Success Teaching is a first principles book. And then that book that people talk about on success again is built on, on that. So my encouragement to anybody here is that it's also good to look at the first principles books, even on finance, first principles on that. You realize that every other thing is built on top of each other, like that. So I'm a first principles kind of guy. That's why I encourage everybody to read the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. All these books that on the power of habits, they are all built on that. Because that book is a fundamental book. It's a first principle. But once you understand first principle books, any book that is written on top of that, you will get that. I'm not a first principles. Any book I write, it's not the first principles book. I'm standing on the shoulder of those who have gone ahead of me. That's also my encouragement to people here. So thank you for bringing that up. That's good.
Okay. So we've heard about first principles. That 7 habits of highly effective people has become 8 habits of highly effective people.
Yes, he wrote that before he died. That company is worth like $400 million. Now his children run that business. Now the man is dead. Now he had 8 children. Yeah.
So we see that a lot of things are not static and a lot of things are not absolute. So we must be careful about some of these things that we learn. Then he talked about egalitarianism. And he talked about, and I know that there was a time I was teaching parents about Gen Z children and giving them a chance to do other things other than the medicine and the architecture and law and all those normal things that they want them to do. That a child is able to be a multimillionaire without leaving their homes these days, just by having a YouTube channel or just doing one thing or the other, podcasting, coding, YouTube. He's saying there are no limits. There's so many things that you can do in your own space these days that can blow up. So you take advantage of all those sort of things. And I know many of us are already doing that in one way or the other. So please follow Runke Posh on YouTube.
Thank you.
Then we talked about, so we're coming to an end now. The meaning of life, he says, it is personal. And I'm glad he said it is personal. Because he, according to him, he does not believe in an afterlife, which I spoke about. There's no meaning, no purpose to life, all fades away. So create your own meaning and theories, live by core values we've talked about. Wealth is important, but not the only key to happiness. Make sound investments and judgments. And we talk about sound investments and judgments. So guys, did you download the piggy vest? Did you do the dollar thing that Mr. Fo said we should do? Yeah. So taking action is another thing. You know, many times we consume information, but the Bible says that we should be doers of the word, not hearers only. So it's essential that we are doing stuff because the opportunities are there. You know, sometimes you hear, if only I had done that thing, it should have done to, you know. Let's not be those sort of people. Let's people that take action so that when it's time to harvest, we'll be part of the food that will be harvesting. So invest in pursuits and in activities. So it says happiness comes from what? Acceptance, not trying to change what is in your external environment. Everything is perfect until we start desiring and comparing. So interpretation is key. What are you interpreting and how are you interpreting it? Those are the sort of things that make people sad and unhappy. Your anxiety is a result of your thought pattern. What are you thinking about? Constantly processing. So some people don't live in the present. They are living in either the past, what happened to them in the past, or they are planning what they will do in the future. So they're not living conscious. They're not living in the now. They're not living in the present. So learn happiness at rest. Peacefully sit and enjoy internally. Just enjoy this moment. Don't hang on. Some people are getting a lot of value from this book review. Some people are not, because they're thinking about the soup they will put, the bag they will pack for their children tomorrow, the work, the this and that, because you're not enjoying the moment. Happiness is a skill. You must enjoy this moment. Let it be this moment. It's for my book review and nothing else. That's what I want to do. I want to enjoy. I want to learn. I want to grow. So don't hang around people who are constantly in conflict. You know, that's bad energy, bad vibes. Don't hang around those sort of people. The more secrets you have, the happier that you are. So if you like, carry your word matter from A to B or to B to C. People will always interpret whatever it is that you do in your life anyway. So there's no point. If you tell them, they will say. If you don't tell them, they will say. So the more secrets you have, the happier you are. But obviously, if it's beyond you, please look for counsel or therapy. Now, happiness requires presence. So being in the now. And there's this thing I read that I got from there. It said only a small percentage of humans focus on the present. We spend most of our time planning for the future or regretting the past. This prevents you from seeing the beauty in everything and being grateful for what you have and where you are. So immerse yourself in the present moment. If you have not been present in this book review, enjoy the last 2-3 minutes of my presentation. I think this was the last one. So meditation, you talk about intermittent fasting of the mind. So try it for 60 minutes every day. But I would say that even if you can't do 60 minutes, start with 15 minutes. Start doing it little by little, and you will see the changes that you might, and then you will grow. It's like building muscles. Just start little by little, because I know people that have recommended 60 minutes to go struggled, because it's also a skill, something that you have to practice. So before you go to bed tonight, do your prayer, but just, even if you fall asleep, it's okay. That's the worst that will happen, but just try to zero out any thoughts and anything that happened to you during the day, during the week. Just think about nothing. Everything is perfect until we start desiring and competing. Have I not used this one before? Yeah, I've gone through this slide before. Yeah. So always be ready to internally to make good judgments. So we talk about judgments. We talk about judgment. Harold's going to do the thing. Do things now, not later. Figure it out as you go along. Find out your own path, irrespective of those you hurt. Value time over money. And I love this one in red. It says, anger is a contract you make with yourself to be in physical and mental turmoil until your reality changes. Control your thinking. Let me read that again. Anger is a contract you make with yourself to be in physical and mental turmoil until your reality changes. Control your thinking. Our criticism and judgment of others are fear-based to make us feel better about ourselves. I love this one so much. When it says our criticism and judgment are, so when you see somebody and say, look at this or Fo's hair, look at his hair, he didn't even comb his hair. If you say something like that, you're talking from a place of fear. Or you say, look at the way he's always laughing and shouting at that moment. Can't he just talk normally? Can't he just be quiet and calm? Why are you criticizing? You are criticizing from a place of your insecurity and your fear. Allow other people to be and recognize your own fear. So when you're saying, oh, look at this one's hair, so ugly, it's so fatty. So what is it about you that you want to feel good about? That until you put somebody down, you don't feel good about yourself. So we must process that. Now, I love this task. He says, play back your life by 10 years and ask what you told your younger self, what would you have done differently? And he said, if you're 40, think about what you will tell yourself when you were 30. If you were 30, think about what you will tell yourself when you were 20. Those things are some of the things that you need to now incorporate into your life and continue doing. So always think back 10 years and say, what have I done well? Let me continue to do more. What have I not done well? So essentially, it's similar to when we are doing goal setting. What has worked and what has not worked properly. So read what you like, not what is trending. Read what makes you happy. So I've gone through all this already. Repetition here. Now I'm done. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And
thank you very much.
Book lists, and I hope you enjoyed the book review. And do connect with me. It's Ronke Posh. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
time.
Ronke. Thank you. Thank you. Let's give Ronke a round of applause, somebody. Ronke, can stop sharing the screen now.
I have to clap for myself first.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much, Ronke. We're very grateful. All right, guys. I want the audience to ask questions now. They've just been quiet. Let's engage them.
I'm going to stop sharing the screen in a moment. I'm just trying to find.
Yes.
Coach, I have a meeting by 8 o'clock. So if I can just put my few tips before I go.
Oh yeah, put your tip because we are rounding up right now as well. Okay, so good. That I don't want it to. So say your part now, Mr. Harold.
Yeah, very good. So I thank you. I want a big thank you to all the speakers that have spoken. They've done a very good job, and thank you, Coach, for recommending this book, or whoever recommended it. It's a book that I just listened to the podcast. I mean, the audio book. Yeah, the audio ones, and honestly, I just fell in love with the guy. It was somebody who was born 1975, and to have written so much and has so much wisdom, it came from books. So that's why it's good to. I recommend people to read their books. So my name is Harold Okagbari. I live in the UK. I work here and I live with my family here, and I'm also into